Right. Hello, Ella.
Hello.
How you doing? You all good?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Right, maybe a little bit of backstory about me is I've done YouTube and like content creation for quite a while now. I think I've had my YouTube channel since I was like 9 years old, but I mainly started focusing on books as of like 2022. So I got back into reading and then it's just sort of progressed into what I'm doing now. So obviously, as I said, I'd had previous things, so I sort of had like an idea of what I needed to be doing, but it wasn't ever anything to be professional. It was just, I wanted a space to share about books and everything like that. And I tried the Instagram thing for a while, that was working, tried TikTok for a while, but it got to the point where there wasn't enough room for me to say exactly what I wanted to say because I talk for England. So I feel like YouTube's a good way to do that because you can just talk and talk. Like if I wanted to post a 3-hour video, I could. So it gave me a bit of wiggle room, basically.
A bit of wiggle room.
I took wiggle room. I feel like I am getting a little bit more on it recently with being a little bit more honest, because I feel like it's easy to say, oh, I liked this book, but if I hated it, I'm just going to be honest now. Whereas before, I always was a little bit scared to share my like 100% opinion. But now something's changed recently that I'm like, I just don't care. But I feel like in terms of books, I don't really read many books I don't like. So that never really seems to be a problem for me, but I normally just read what I want to read, try and incorporate it into a vlog, and then whether I like it or not, then that's depends on the mood, the time. And also I always try and do like 3 books per video, so that there's always going to be something that I might like and dislike in there. I feel like this has changed recently as well. I feel like I've had like a little rebrand in how I want to do things, but I feel like I try and film as much in real time as I can, whether that's B-roll, updating the vlog, but obviously there might be a time where I'm like, oh, I haven't really got much B-roll on this, so I will just do like me throwing the book on the bed or like something to add in to make it a little bit more like cinematic, but as in real time as I can get it. All of my updates will be in real time, like as I'm actually reading it and stuff like that, but I'm just trying to get in advance, as far in advance as I possibly can now. So like right now I'm currently reading and filming for September. I've got 1 more book to read and then I can start reading for October. So I'm like as far in advance as I possibly can. But there is limitations to that because I need to start reading like Halloween-y kind of spooky books. And right now as we're filming this, it's like August. So I'm not really in the mood for those. So will that change my review? Because I'm not in the mood, it's not the vibe. But I'm not 100% sure. But I said it, I'm going to struggle at Christmas because I'm going to be reading Christmas books in like October, November. Yeah. But that is going to be a thing when we come to it. I think the biggest problem that could, and I feel like any book creator will say this, is a reading slump. If I'm not in the mood to read, not only will that devalue my review, but it will also mean that if I'm not in the mood to read, I won't want to pick up a book, and that means that I can't make content. If I'm not reading a book, I can't make content. Whereas fashion content creators, beauty content creators, they can sort of, yes, you might not feel up for putting your makeup on or whatever, but I feel like book slumps last a little bit longer. The duration might alter some stuff, but I feel like that would be like the biggest challenge to face. Luckily I haven't been in that big of one, so it might be okay, but I don't want to jinx myself. But I feel like that would be the biggest thing that would delay. So as I said, I like being ahead, but that would delay it a lot if I don't read for a week. That's a week that I could have got a whole video done. I feel like this is probably just a generic basic answer, but always engaging back helps. The second someone comments, I'm replying back to them within an hour, even if it's just a thank you, an emoji, something like that, just to show that I appreciate them with me. And I always go out of my way to reply to stories. If someone follows me and they have a cute page, or if I'm like enjoying their content back, I will go through, like their stuff and support them back, and then that way they're like, oh, she enjoys my content too, and then it's just comes sort of like a mutual thing. I feel like the book community is really good in showing appreciation for other people, so we all just sort of follow the same people, and I think that helps, just all that umbrella of engagement, everyone just doing a bit of everything.
Do you do anything involving the viewers in the actual videos as well, like getting them to pick what you read and stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I've done a couple of videos now where I got my subscribers involved, my Instagram followers, so I put like questions, stickers, and I always say like, what book would you want me to read? Because I feel like if there's a book that they're not really going to be that interested in, no one really cares about me reading it. Whereas I'd rather, obviously they're the people watching me, I would like to read the books that I want to read, and the majority of the time it is that, but then they're the ones that are consuming my content, so I'd rather give them exactly what they want. And luckily we have the same taste, so I'm like reading for fun as well as giving something for them to watch. Other book creators will know there's like 3 or 4 massive book creators. I'm in the English corner, they're in the USA corner, and they've replied to some of my DMs and liked some of that, so that's good. I've had authors send me their books, and they've actually reached out to me personally. I've had people send me books, you know, like from publishers and stuff like that. So I think that's a great perk to it. And also you build that relationship. And I read a book the other day literally in one sitting, and the first thing I did was text the author and say I really enjoyed this, and she was like, I'm so glad. And she was like, it was her debut novel, wasn't, you know, that, I don't want to say not that popular, but she was trying to push it out there. So I've actually included it in a video, so it's like that mutual thing. She gives me the book and I'm able to promote it. I think there's negatives and positives to social media no matter what niche you're in, whether it's books, whether it's, as I said earlier, beauty, anything like that. But I do feel like it has made more of a positive vibe of reading and like view on it. As someone that was bullied for reading at school and, you know, not being a little nerd or whatever, I feel like now books are more of a trend. People are more accepting of that, and you don't, like, it's more cool to read now. So I think that helps. But I feel like people make these pretty pictures, this beautiful content based on books that could inspire someone else to read. I think I saw like an Instagram, I've been reading my whole life, but I saw an Instagram post of a book and I was like, oh, that sounds good. Like, I haven't read a book in like 3 months or 6 months or whatever it was. And that inspired me, and then there hasn't really been a day since then that I haven't read. So I think that definitely helped me. I think it was like an Instagram post or something. First thing would be just make sure you're still reading for fun and reading what you want to read. Don't put too much pressure on it. I think the minute you start reading books that aren't what you're interested in for the benefit of other people, not only are you not going to enjoy it, but it will show in your content. Obviously there's times where I've done like a challenge video where it's like, read dark romance for a week, and I've read 3 in a row, and it's like, maybe I'm not going to enjoy this right now, but that's the point of the challenge. But I think I only do them, I balance them out so they're not that often. I don't have to like force myself to read books that I don't want to read. But I think as long as you're reading what you're reading, you have a good schedule that works for you, don't force yourself to make content every 5 seconds, and you're still doing it at your own pace and whatever works for you, then that's the best advice. I don't really see, obviously I've got 10,000 people watching me, but I don't see that. When I picture 10,000 people in a room, that's crazy. But I never actually see that number and think, wow, that's actually 10,000 individual people, but it is. I'm obviously grateful for all of them, but I'm like, wow. When I sit and think about it, I'm like, that's a lot. And I feel like that doesn't pressure me, that I'm just grateful for. The only thing that does pressure me maybe a little bit is if, for example, if I am in a reading slump, or if I'm like, I'm not really in the mood to read, or if I'm not very well or whatever, it's the pressure knowing that people are going to wait for that content a little bit. Not that they will mind if I ever just missed a week or my video wasn't up to standard or whatever, but I feel like that's the only thing that I sort of put pressure on myself. I'm like, I need to read this book. So I think if I read not for content, I wouldn't have read half the books as I would have read now. And I think not only genre-wise, but also just the amount, the actual amount. I think I'm on my 60th book this year. I probably would have read half of that if I didn't have to like meet deadlines for content. But I kind of do take that as a positive thing because it gives me more motivation to actually do it. I'm one of them people, I do drop hobbies, I do. And I got back into reading, I was reading my 3rd book as I've got back into it, and I made a bookstagram. It was that quick. I get too obsessed with things too quick, but obviously it's worked out, so that, I think it's a good thing. That's a great question. I think I would want it to be under the romance genre. I feel like that's what I consume the most, that's what I know best, and that is what I think I would write best as well. I feel like I love the fake dating trope. I don't know why, but for some reason I just feel like the tension's good, stuff like that. Like, you're always waiting for something to happen and everyone else is under the assumption that they're together when they're not. But I also love, one of my favourite tropes of all time, if you look at all of my favourite books, it's childhood friends to lovers. And if you asked me 2 years ago that what my favourite trope is, I would have said I hated friends to lovers. But childhood friends to lovers is a little bit different, and I feel like I've loved that in the last like year or so. It's like become a new thing for me. I love it, and I think it stems from my own relationship as well, because I have like a childhood friends to lovers relationship. I feel like I seek that out because I relate to it as well. So I'd like to include that, maybe like a childhood friends, but then they fake date for convenience or something, and then something happens and then they end up getting together. I think that would be quite nice. So I'd probably incorporate some stuff like that into it. But I do love enemies to lovers as well. So I don't know. I'd have to really sit and think about a plot before I start writing a book, but I would love to do that one day.
One of each, maybe.
Definitely.
Inside scoop.
Inside scoop. You heard it here first, people. See, my favourite book is Magnolia Parks. As a person, that girl is the most frustrating person I've ever encountered in my life, so I don't think I'd go for that as much as I love her books. I feel like it would just be like a random, you know, like them just little standalones that you read every now and then and you get attached to the characters. I really like Nora from Book Lovers by Emily Henry. That's one of my favourite books. I sat and read that in one sitting. And I really liked Brianna from Yours Truly. That's another one of my favourite 5-star reads. I just feel like a character that's like me helps, you know, me like them as a person and resonate with them, and then it also can give you that motivation to be a little bit more like them, like when they're more motivated to do something, or they take a big leap of getting a new job or doing a thing that they want to do. It's like, oh, I see myself in her, I can also do this. So I think that helps as well, but I feel like those two are the ones that I see myself a lot in.
The last question, I ask this to everyone I do an interview for. If you could say one sentence that everybody in the world would be able to hear at the same time, what would you want to say?
Oh my God. Not that. Subscribe to Ella Rose Reads.
Brilliant, love it. Yes!
I don't actually know.
Nice, that was good.
Oh, there we go.
Lovely.
That's a hard question.
Isn't it?